My name's Chris Graham. I'm very grateful recovered alcoholic. Let's try to get organized here. I was talking to somebody at break. They were saying, "Well, y'all are going through the steps pretty quick." There's studies out there that you can get online. Those Joe and Charlie talks that we did, and Joe Hawk has got some that are just like, you know, you'll be dead before you get through the whole thing. It's like I'm fascinated with some of that stuff, but again, it's just so unbelievably complicated sometimes. We just get in there and just go, and the little new guy who hadn't put two sentences together in 10 years now all of a sudden is expected to understand it. Just sometimes, again, we go out of our way to make this more complicated than it has to be, but you can oversimplify it too. It's other end of the spectrum, and sometimes the oversimplification is, again, we talked about it earlier, is this idea that all we got to do is go to meetings and we're going to be okay. And that's just not been my experience. I'm going to talk tonight and do my little story, so I'm not going to get into a bunch of that. But I mean, when somebody finally slowed down long enough and they started explaining some of this stuff to me, and I actually started doing it, it got really pretty simple. It's pretty basic. We don't have to reinvent it for everybody. And I don't know. It kind of saved my life. Good sponsorships saved my butt. And there's a chapter 7 in the big book. It's the only step that's got its own chapter about working with others. And Bill Wilson talks about working with others more than he talked about anything else in the big book. I mean, it's just over and over. He continues to refer to it. There's a great little passage on page 14 and 50 and talks about, you not being able to stay sober unless we grow spiritually through work and self-sacrifice for others. He's just crystal clear from up in the front to the end about helping other little knuckleheads. And yet, depending on what area you go to, and listen, I got to tell you, some of the best recovery in the world is up here in the Northeast. I'm not saying that we don't have crap meetings in places. I mean, some of the worst meetings I've ever been to are in New York City. But, it's no reflection in New York. It's everywhere. The fourth tradition, let me mention this real quick. The fourth tradition allows us to set meetings up any way we want, which I thought was brilliant of Bill Wilson and them. They didn't want to get in there and get real dogmatic. It's got to be this way. It's got to be that way. There's lots of different kinds of meetings out there. And I just think it's part of what I'm going to talk about in this short 45 minutes or so. I think, some of these open discussion meetings where they sit around and talk about the cat and stuff, I think those are really good. We call them problem solving meetings. There's one line in the big book that says, there's a great one. We set aside a meeting, and one meeting a week where the newcomers could bring their problems. How cool is that? I mean, I just think that's great. I think we should do that. How about 4 meetings a week? We can do that. No shit. I'll back up. How about 6 meetings a week? We can talk about your cat. Can we just do 1 meeting a week where we study the literature? Would that be okay? Half of you just decided you're going to leave. It's like, oh my God. And see, because there's people that go to these problem solving meetings who's got the problem, and they're staying sober and they're doing well. And I'm like, I can't be critical of that. Let's just go. But there's some of us that needed to actually, like Chris was talking about, get up off our butt and do something. There's so many years you got to push yourself a little bit, guys. You got to do some things that you're uncomfortable with in order to grow spiritually. And that's just, for me, I'm talking about character defects. One of my main character defects that I had to ask God to remove was my shyness. Any of you that have ever tried to have a conversation with me know exactly what you're talking. I'm the shyest sumbitch in the place. I mean, it's cold outside, isn't it? And that's it. I'm done. It's not that I'm aloof or anything like that. I'm a shy little guy. And that's the way I get up here and jump around like a stepped on spider talking about this, but out there, I'm just a little character defect. How can you be helpful to somebody if you can't talk to them? Use sign language, maybe mental telepathy. I don't no. But it was very difficult for me sometimes to get up and do some stuff that I didn't want to do. But some sponsorship that asked me to kind of get involved and jump in there. Bill Wilson back in 1947. Think about the golly. 85 years we've had this next year in Detroit. 85 years, one generation. Man, if any of y'all ever get a chance, you'll holler at me. I can show you some literature out there that talks about alcoholism through the history. Some really good based stuff. It's just, I mean, alcoholics of our variety, the stuff that used to happen to us out there, if we were lucky enough to get into a state hospital someplace, and the lobotomies and the treatments that they tried on us to try to get us to stop drinking. I mean, 85 years ago, we were dying. Most of us at our own hands. And because a couple of guys gave a poot and decided that they could go help somebody, we're alive today. I think if y'all can get it from me tonight and through the day, there's a sense of responsibility, I think, when we start realizing that if the newcomer's going to hear the solution, it's going to be from us. I work in the treatment business, folks. I love what I do for a living. The solution is not coming from there. We can get them dried out. We can get them on the path. We can point them in the right direction. But unless they get connected to a bunch of knuckleheads like y'all, they're not going to stay sober. Now, that's just a fact. I've watched this 1,000 times. There's no fix out there. Everybody's sitting around waiting for the pharmaceutical companies to come up with a solution to this. Everybody's making a new pill that's going to fix this problem. I don't have a problem with medication, folks. It will not fix the problem. The solution is this in all three parts. With each passing year, remember this is 1947, Bill Wilson, each passing year we increasingly realize the immense importance of adequately presenting the program to every new prospect who is the least inclined to listen. Many of us feel this is our greatest obligation to him, and our failure to do so our greatest dereliction. The difference between a good approach and a bad one can mean life or death to those who seek our help. See, what Bill Wilson is trying to tell us to do here, he said, go find a drunk to work with. Go find somebody to help, because that's exactly what this whole thing is about. I don't know where we got somewhere the idea that the newcomer, I heard a guy in a meeting not long ago say, well, when it's time to work the steps will work you. I have no idea what that even means. If the newcomer will ask when they're ready, they'll ask. You see, the problem is the newcomer doesn't know what to ask. I can only share my experience. Again, I'll get more in detail tonight, but my experience sitting in these rooms, I wanted to stay sober. I needed to stay sober. I don't understand. I don't know anything about a big book. I don't know anything about the steps. I don't know anything about a spiritual experience. I think I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm showing up. Lots of meetings. I got nothing else going on, but I'm not getting the information that I need. When did we get to a place where we assume that the newcomer knows how this thing works? We're supposed to teach them that. And then if the little knuckleheads don't want to do it, we're okay. No foul. But don't assume because they've got out of a 30-day treatment center or a 90-day treatment center or whatever that they know what to do, because they don't. In the United States right now, guys, especially if there's a state-funded facility, there will be no talk about God in those facilities. Separation of church and state. Knucklehead brought it into the Supreme Court, went all the way to the Supreme Court. The guy that already died years before the case finally went to the court. I can send you all the documents about it if you're interested. But it's just short and sweet. They decided, we can't sentence people to Alcoholics Anonymous. So if it's a state-funded, you're taking federal money, state money, we're not going to talk about God in those facilities. Well, if we're not going to talk about God in those facilities, how are we going to tell the newcomer what to do? All right, you know where they're going to hear about it? They're going to hear about it because you little knuckleheads are taking an H&I out there on Thursday night. Sing it. I cannot tell you in my 27 years working in the industry, working in the treatment center, how many people I've talked to, patients that have come through facilities where I've been associated with and have said, you know what cracked it with me? I talked about it the other day. You know what broke this for me? That little guy at that H&I, that little guy with all them piercings and shit and a big old, yeah. Mr. Robot Man. Yeah, I remember him. Yeah. It's something he said in that meeting just made it click for me. Yeah. Don't anybody in here ever assume that you can't help somebody. That spiritual warfare that we're constantly talking about, I'm going to tell you guys, as real as it can possibly be. It's that little voice in your head that tells you, I can't help anybody. I can't even help myself. Loser. I know. I understand. Yeah. Okay. And then it's verified by the AA police sitting in the corner telling you can't sponsor until you're sober 3 years, 2 years. I was doing a workshop over in New Orleans one time, and this big old mountain of a guy came up, and he was literally just shaking mad. Here I was doing a little workshop like this, and he says, "Here in Louisiana, so we don't let anybody sponsor till they're 5 years sober." Well, my book says on page 129, in those first days of convalescence, nothing will so much help ensure the immunity from drink as intensive work with another alcoholic. I mean, if you're in a sponsorship lineage where they won't let you sponsor for 2 years or 1 year, whatever, at least understand that you've got to get involved in some type of service work, or you don't have a snowball's chance of hell of staying sober. Bill Wilson, in his, the famous story, it's in the forward to the second edition, and you can see it. Of course, lots of books out there, great books on the history of Alcoholics Anonymous, but he's in Akron, Ohio. He's sober about 6 months. Got sober, towns. He's in Akron with a business deal, went belly up, and he's literally got a little better than $4 in his pocket. He's in trouble in the Mayflower Hotel. I was in Akron not long ago and got a chance to go into the hotel and into the lobby where Bill Wilson was, and it's pretty cool. I got to tell you, it just had hair stood up on my eye. He's sitting in that hotel lobby and he realizes, he says, I knew I needed another alcoholic as much as that alcoholic could ever need me. See, the old timers used to say it, guys. They used to say, you hear it in AA all the time, you got to give it away to keep it. Okay, that's true. But the old timers used to say, you got to give it away to get it. He gets sober in 1935 in Towns Hospital. He immediately goes right back in and starts working with the patients in the treatment center where he went, in the detox unit. He wouldn't wait. God damn, what if somebody had said something to Bill and Dr. Bob? Hey, you guys aren't sober enough to work with other alcoholics. What would have, we laugh about it, but what would have happened? The guy that brought Alcoholics Anonymous to Texas was a guy named Larry Jewell. He was from Ohio and is in really bad shape from Cleveland. The doctors got him cleaned up, got him detoxed, but his health was so compromised, he had to get out of this damn cold because it's cold out there. And he had to get him out. He had a job offer in Houston, Texas. They gave him a big book, patted him on the butt and say, go to Houston and help somebody. And he got on the butt. He read the book on the train, getting back to Houston, and got him a job, started writing some articles about Alcoholics Anonymous, started the first meetings in Houston. From there, went up to East Texas, over to Austin, ended up in Kerrville, Texas, where I live. Oh my gosh. You could just see the tray. It's amazing. This guy had never been to a meeting before and affected thousands of us. I repeat myself, this lady I'm talking to yesterday on the phone, she's crying. She wants to get sober, but nobody will let her work with others. You're not ready to work the steps. We have got to stop telling people that. Please, I'm sorry if that offends you. We have got to stop that. We got to work the steps. We got to get there, and we got to encourage the little newcomer day one to get active, helping others in some form or fashion. There's lots of ways to help, folks. Maybe it doesn't have to. Maybe you don't have to come up here and do a sponsorship workshop or a step study right off the bat. Maybe work the steps yourself first, and then you can do that. I love it. Chris was talking about it. I love it when guys do this. You go to an AA meeting anywhere like that, and the topic's the 4-step, and the guy in the back, pick me. Well, I've never actually done a 4-step, but, and then they want to talk about it. No, be quiet. Be quiet. If you haven't done a 4-step, shut up. You don't got nothing to share. People all over the world want to talk about something they have no experience with. That's why with the urgency to finish this, we need everybody in the trench with us, helping us get this. Sponsorship is kind of divided in this country between this big spectrum right here. Down here, you've got this real dictatorial sponsor. Y'all know them. They're famous out there. I want you to call me every day, and I want you to, you can't wear that. You can't, no dating for the first year. Okay. It makes us look stupid, makes us look cultish. Again, issue man, world famous. I got in a relationship and that's why I relapsed. No, that's not true. Now you're going to blame something external for why you got loaded. You got loaded because you didn't work the steps and have the spiritual experience. Guys, if you work in the steps and you're dating somebody and she breaks your heart, he breaks your heart, you're going to hurt. You're going to be really sad, but you're not going to drink. The solution is not to not date. That's ridiculous. Well, what happened? Well, went to work. Oh, well, there you go. You can't work. Oh, my gosh. Y'all laugh. How many of y'all drank in the daytime? About 3:15. Oh, oh, come on. The rest of you are liars. Come on. You're telling me that you didn't drink at 3:15 in the app? Yeah, okay. Well, don't go outside. I'll hold you until about an hour later and we can say, it's ridiculous. Completely dictatorial down here, and the other end of the spectrum is this completely ineffectual. Yeah? Okay, welcome. I'm your sponsor. Bye-bye now. Okay, disappear. Somewhere in between, guys, there's got to be a little instruction. I believe early on, guys, if I'm going to sponsor I can sponsor a couple of guys at a time. I can't sponsor more than that. I sponsor a boatload of guys. But these is like Chris said, I don't take these guys on to raise, nor should you. I need to teach these folks what I'm sponsoring. I need to get them through the work, and I want them to become dependent on the program, not on me. If they're calling me every 15 minutes about something, guys, I'm going to help any way I can, but I'm going to do the pushback a little bit. Mark used to do it with me. I'd call him on the phone about something like that, and he says, "Did you talk to God about this?" I said, "No, I'm calling you." And the next sound I would hear would be a click and a dial tone. I call him back. "Did you hang up on me?" "Yeah, buddy, come on. This is ridiculous. I don't know what you need to do. I don't know what you need to do. I don't know what you need to do. I know God knows." Guys, we start doing this work, and there's this intuitiveness that takes place with us, and we start getting this guidance. That's why it's so important early in sobriety, even while these little knuckleheads are sitting in treatment. They're doing the work, they're making some headway here, and all of a sudden, in prayer and meditation, they get quiet. Maybe they're out in the back in the butt hut where they're smoking a cigarette, and then all of a sudden these little thoughts start coming. "Oh my God, you know what? I could go back to school." Yeah, no kidding. Pay attention. Write it down. You think it's going to be 2 years before God starts talking to you? That's pretty arrogant of us to think we know. When's it going to happen, and who's going to carry the message? It may be that little idiot in the back with a piercing. I don't know. Yeah, I do know. I could be a really open mind about that today. I just, please. Because this idea that we have to, let's depend on the program. Let's depend on the folks around us. Let's stop going to one person for the answer. This little dictatorial stuff. Pick a sponsor that you want what they talked about. Real quick, guys. This whole idea of picking somebody. Ask the question. This needs to be the question. I went to a guy that literally had one of those Cadillacs. This was back in the before the Dallas days, but he had a Longhorns on the front end of his, which is really cool. Okay, I'm driving an old pickup that leans on one side, and the windows all busted out, and this guy's got this Cadillac with bull horns on the front. And he's an oil man, got a cowboy hat, belt buckle about this big around, hot damn, and he was, wealthy, lots of sex. I want him. See, we didn't ask the question. The question needs to be this: have you had a spiritual experience as a result of working the steps? And that guy's going to do one of two things. He's going to look at you with like deer in a headlight and take a step back. Like, we don't want to get too spiritual here. Oh my God, like crawfish crabbing back and like, no. Oreo's going to hug you and say, "Where did you hear that?" Big book. I'm looking for somebody that's had a spiritual experience as a result of the steps. I'm not looking for ... a life coach. I can hire one of those if I need one. I'm sure there's some in here. They're wonderful. They're trained. That's great. Y'all, I'm not making fun of them. Rock on. That's not sponsorship. That's why so many people believe that the newcomer can't sponsor effectively. You got to have your life all perfect before you can turn around and give back to others. Bill Wilson didn't have that happen. He's in Mayflower Hotel trying to figure out how in the hell he's going to pay his hotel bill. And he realizes he needs another alcoholic. And he finds Dr. Bob through his hook and crook with Henrietta Seiberling. Gosh, man, if y'all ever get a chance to go to Akron, if any of y'all haven't been, y'all need to go take that tour. Y'all need to check it out. I know the head archivist there. I'll hook you up. Trust me. And it's absolutely amazing. They finally get hold of Dr. Bob. Dr. Bob tells him, I'll meet with this Bioho for 15 minutes. The story goes 5.5 hours later, better than 5 hours. The archivists are telling me they're still talking. Families pulling their hair out. They want to go home. The kids are tired, and they won't shut up. They're talking and thinking and scheming about how they can go help another alcoholic. Dr. Bob, a little bit later, gets sober, and Bill stays in Akron through the summer, and they start working on the big book, start talking about things that they need to do, and they go help other alcoholics. They go back into the hospitals and start working with number 3 and number 4 and number 5. Guys, when we were doing that, our success rates were through the ceiling. And I got to tell you something, our membership was growing exponentially. It was just huge. And we stopped doing that. I can give you the history. Won't do it now. I'm saying there was a certain point where we stopped doing that. And we started seeing our memberships flatten. Since 1996, in our own membership surveys, we have flattened out in Alcoholics Anonymous. We have not grown as a fellowship. A lot of other fellowships out there. That's part of it. Little dope fiends are not hiding out in AA anymore. They're going back over to Drug Addicts Anonymous or going to some of the cool fellowships out there to help the little drug. That's fine. But there's a lot of people that are not staying sober. Piss poor sponsorship. And this idea that you can't sponsor anybody till, oh, come on, guys. Just bring it on. When these little guys come to me and start talking a bit, Dad, can you sponsor me? If I've got some time, I'm gonna sit with them for a minute. And I've got this little form I can send you. Again, if y'all email me, I can send it to you with a drop and a click. And it's this willing to go to any length stuff we started doing. We had a lot of fun with it. You can take it and kind of customize it, make it your own if you want to. But a lot of times, in how it works, it talks about in the very front, are you willing to go to any lengths for okay. And if you ask anybody, are you willing to go to any lengths? I've never had anybody ever in my 32 years that said no. They all say yeah. Yes, you betcha. But see, we don't explain to them what that looks like. And then when we start asking them to do some stuff, whoa, wait a minute. Wait. I just think it's important that we tell them going in the door what this is going to look like. I'm going to run through a couple of these real quick. I won't cover the whole form in there. But before I do, I'm going to mention, I'm one of these firm believers that if you're doing the way the book asks you to do and you're actually taking them through the steps and you're not taking them on to raise, you can sponsor a lot of folks. It doesn't have to be like one person. I know, you can do that. I'm also a big one. You're free to disagree that men sponsor men and women sponsor women. I have seen so many disasters, it's not even funny. And I know you're sitting in here and you have a man sponsor and there's never been a problem. Rock on. I can name you hundreds of disasters that have happened as a result of that. Can y'all? Yeah. I just got taken off about half this room, their Christmas card list that I was on, I'm off of now. I'm just sharing my experience, folks. I'm going to tell you, one of the reasons I don't do it is simply my wife. Everybody thinks it's perfectly okay until it's 2:00 in the morning and she's calling on the phone and I'm in the living room visiting. Then how uncomfortable can this be? And everything looks good until she gets loaded. And then my stupid jokes all of a sudden came outside. Yeah, it's not, just throw that out there to you. If I sponsor you, I'm going to prevent another woman of having the absolute blessing of having the experience of sponsoring you. And there's groups out there where the same old bastard sponsors everybody, every woman in the group. That's okay, but how are the women going to learn to sponsor? If they don't get connected to a sponsor, folks, they're not going to stay. I can't candy coat this any way I want to. I'm just saying, let's find out what works and what doesn't work. And I'm just disaster after disaster. We'll just have Have to watch it. Guys that I sponsor, I'm going to ask them to be willing to be qualified. I don't care if they've just got out of treatment or not. We've just been talking about it. I'm going to sit down with them. I'm going to ask them point blank, do you physical craving and mental obsession? Alcohol. Have you ever drank more than you intended? It's a yes or no question. Yeah. How about more than once? Yeah. All right. Mental obsession. Given sufficient reason. Jeopardizing your health, a relationship, whatever. Can you stop and stay stopped? No. Textbook alcoholic. Come on. The clear understanding of my truth will propel me through the work. If I'm listening to your story, you'll give me enough evidence to talk myself into leaving. It's just saying. I also want to help them get in the right room. If I qualify this guy right here and find out he's not an alcoholic, but he's a little dope fiend, I want to get him in a room full of other little dope fiends. How's he going to help another alcoholic if he's got no experience with alcohol? Y'all with me? Y'all, you can't help if you don't have any experience with it. They're welcome in AA. I'm not kicking anybody out. I want them to get in a fellowship in a room full of people that are excited about, man, I got to tell you, I sponsor a bunch of little guys, and they'll sit back over behind me in a meeting, our little AA big book study, and they'll sit in there. They got their little big books, and they're talking, and they're visiting. They're just they're there, behaving. They're not sharing. They're not participating. And then on Thursday night, we got a little Drug Addicts Anonymous meeting I go to when I'm in town, and it's a meeting for little dope fiends. And I'm in there, and that same little guy that I've never heard say a word, he's got his little big book you'll follow, and he's over there just spitting fire. Now look on page 15, and look, turn the back. He's just 100 miles. He's been paying attention the whole time, but he's finally in a room full of people, his little brothers, that identification that Bill Wilson talks about so greatly in the traditions, singleness of purpose. I'm going to try to help them. A lot of people qualify for all those fellowships. They're all welcome. Let's go. But it's my job as a sponsor to help them find their truth. I want them to get in the right room. So it's part of our work. I'm going to ask them point blank if they're willing to do these steps quickly. Guys, I'm not dogmatic about it. You don't have to do it in a week or an afternoon, but we're going to get through this pretty quick, or I'm not going to mess with you. If you're taking your time working the steps, you obviously don't believe you're one of us. So it's triage. We're trying to stop the bleeding. I'm going to ask these little knuckleheads that I'm sponsoring to go to some specific meetings. With this, they can go to as many meetings they want to go to. I could care less, but I want them to go to at least a couple meetings with me so I can set an eye on them. No pun intended. I want to make sure, because that's it. I sponsor a long time, and I'm talking to the guy on the phone. Is everything's okay? Okay, you say it is. I have to assume it is. But I can sit in the meeting, watch you fidget, and know that you're not okay. You're not meeting my eyes. You got up 4 times during the meeting. What's up with that? And I can sit and visit with you. So I want to try to get them to go to some literature-based meetings. Any literature-based meeting out there, with the exception of living sober meetings. I love this crowd. I know. Golly. I want them to focus on the big book until we get the steps done. I'm a big 12 and 12 fan. Love the 12 and 12. But it'll confuse you if you're a newcomer, and we're working the steps out of both books because it contradicts itself a little bit, especially around the 4th step that we talked about. So let's just get through the work, focusing on the big book first, and then I want you to read everything out there that AA produces. There's just some great literature out there. Grapevine, although I don't like the newsletter, they've got some great literature out there. AA Comes of Age, Dr. Bob and the Good Old Timers, a lot of those old great history books. Man, if you're going to be a part of this fellowship for the rest of your life, maybe, let's learn as much about it as we can, including that lousy book called Living Sober. Read it. Then burn it. Okay. This is really important. It's a qualifier for me. I want you to be the guys I'm sponsoring, I'm going to ask them to be really completely honest about me and in certain areas of their life. Again, I'm not a counselor or a therapist, guys, especially I'm not a doctor, but I want to know specifically about what's going on with you. Medication. I want you to tell me what you're on. All right. It's like, I'm the last one to tell you to not take those medications. But 6 months from now, when you have the spiritual experience and you're feeling great and you take that antidepressant bottle and throw it in the trash because you don't need them anymore, and you probably don't, and 2 days later you end up in the psych ward, 4-point tie down, I need to know why. You can't just stop taking antidepressants like that. Y'all follow, folks? I just need to know so I can kind of keep an eye on it. It's just no big deal. Sex, if you're out there, you got an affair going, I'm not going to judge it one way or another, but I need to know about it. I'll keep my mouth shut. But the dishonesty is what kills us. 3 places in the first paragraph on how it works, it continues the word honesty. If you can be honest, you can stay sober. If you can't be honest, you can't stay sober. Sexuality. I've known guys that I've sponsored that wouldn't come out of the closet. They're as gay as the day is long. Everybody out there knows. But they're not going to come out of the closet because they're worried about what their families say. Okay. You're going to struggle staying sober. Guys, your insides have to match your outsides. And when they don't, there's going to be conflict. There's going to be tension. You can't stay sober that way. Bill Wilson put it 3 places in the first paragraph on there because it's important. You got to get straight. If you're working at a job you hate, it's dishonest. I have to work there so I can live in this big mansion that nobody gives 2 poots that I'm living in. Y'all follow? Yeah, I understand. If you're in a relationship that you're miserable in, it's dishonest. I'm not telling you one way or another what to do. I'm saying you got to get honest about your life if you're going to stay sober. And we watch a lot of people come back to treatment over and over and over again. They leave treatment for the 8th time, walk right back into the same relationship that they're just horribly unhappy in, and they wonder why they can't stay sober. It plays into this victim stuff. Y'all got it? It's tough. Honesty. This thing about the meds too, honesty, you got to tell your doctors that it's amazing to me how many of you guys don't talk to your doctors about the medications, this kind of nonsense. Dentists are the number one culprits. If you go to the dentist, I had a guy call me the other day on the phone, oh man, I got a cavity. I said, buddy, you're sounding a little too excited about this. Because he's fixing to go to the doctor and they're going to give him 30 stupid hydrocodone for a little chicken shit tooth. It's like, whoa. I'm not a drug addict. Didn't say you were. But if you take those medications dishonestly, you're off to the stupid races. A lot of times with medication, guys, it's the transparency. With any of you, there's not a one of us in here that's not at some point in time going to have to take some addictive medications, medically, whatever. I have to get a colonoscopy, once every couple of years. I need medication for that. I'm just going to throw that out there. But I'm real honest about it. Everybody I'm sponsoring knows I'm fixing to go get this done. My wife knows I'm fixing to go get this. Everybody knows, okay? Because I'm not going to go home with a bottle of 30 hydrocodone or whatever. Y'all follow? Sitting in my medicine. Everybody wants to do that. After the tooth, they put it in the deal. 6 months later, you're having a little trouble sleeping because you drank too much stupid coffee at the AA meeting, smoked too many cigarettes, and you're laying there wide awake and listen. And you hear from the medicine cabinet window, Chrissy, I'm in here. I'm in the medicine cabinet. You're not a drug addict. Nobody will know. I cannot tell you how many hundreds I've watched relapse around that crowd. I don't leave that stuff laying around my house. Just don't. Just be done with it. If I have to go get a tooth pulled, the doctor gives me 2 pills. Sometimes he gives me 3. I'll take one that night so I can sleep. The next day I throw the other 2 away. I got ibuprofen and I'm off to the races. I'm doing good. That's just 30 hydrocodone. Jeez. I want these little knuckleheads that I'm sponsoring. I'm going to talk to you real quick about it. I want you to be really seriously open-minded about this thing called anonymity. If I say anything controversial from this little hour, this is going to be it. I am a huge fan of anonymity. Y'all follow? at the level of press, radio, and films, I really try to pay attention. I fail sometimes, but I really try out there in public to not use my last name in public. But if I'm speaking at a conference up here, I will always use my last name. Bill Wilson said, and he got really clear about it, he said at the group level, you can be as anonymous as you want, but we feel it kind of works against us. You can also break your anonymity at the group level. This nonsense of coming in and introducing yourself with your last initial in a room full of people that are there to help save your life, it makes us look absolute cultish. And there's people that stay away from the program because they don't understand what this is about. Yes? There are no gurus in AA. I'm not out there promoting myself, this, that, and selling something. I'm not. That's a violation of the tradition. Sitting in my meeting, introducing myself to the newcomer with my last name is not a violation of the tradition. Because if you get in trouble, I want you to be able to come find me. I'll never forget. 15 years ago, I talked in Canada at a conference and used my last name, and this little girl tracked me down. And she's a little dope fiend from hell. She tracked me down, called information. I'm Chris Raymer in Ingram, Texas. And she called information and got hold of me. Because she said, do you know anybody in Edmonton that can help me? Absolutely. And hooked her up. She still calls. My life depends on constant working with others. And if I'm so anonymous, I can't help that. I got circle triangle in the back of my truck. Every one of my bicycles has got circle triangle on it. My rollerblades have got a little circle triangle on it. I want people to be able to find me if they need me. Just saying. If you saw me on a bicycle, I am awesome. I'm just throwing that out there. I'm just saying. Little guys I'm sponsoring, they're going to take a service commitment now. I'll talk more about it tonight, but you're going to take some kind of service commitment. You're not going to sit on your butt and wait. You're going to get a service commitment now. There's things that people can do with 2 days of sobriety. It's just the nature. I want you guys to absolutely be accountable in all three parts. Everybody I sponsor, we end up periodically, couple of weeks into, every so months, we sit down with a circle triangle, open up our little book. All right, tell me where you're at in this recovery piece. 12 steps, where are you at? What, last time we talked, you were messing with it for, what? And help them get them going. Were you in unity? Do you have a home group? I think it's important to go to a home group, especially some of you little knuckleheads that go to, you're in a big city. And you go to this meeting and this meeting and this meeting and this meeting. I went to 7 meetings this week and nobody knows you. You're not going to do well. Home group, everybody knows you. If I don't show up at my home group for a few days, somebody's calling me on the phone. Thank you. I owe them my life. Willing to listen to the traditions, study them. It's important. I don't think anybody can sit in here and not know the traditions. I think it's important. We need that layer. Willing to follow suggestions about meeting etiquette. Guys, if you're a little dope fiend from hell and I'm sponsoring you and you're also an alcoholic, come on into that meeting, but introduce yourself as an alcoholic. If you've got the verbiage "and" on there, it means you've just got out of treatment. Quit. It's a violation of the traditions. Y'all should see this, audience. Some of y'all just got cranky. Okay. I don't care. Nobody in AA cares that you're a drug addict. When I go to Drug Addicts Anonymous, I don't introduce myself as an alcoholic. It's an outside issue. My name is Chris Raymer. I'm a recovered addict, and I'm going to talk about that. Yes? Back in the day, when treatment centers and the Hughes Act came down in the 70s, we started all that nonsense. My name's Johnny. I'm an alcoholic and an addict and a compulsive gambler and an overeater and a sex addict, and there was one more. I can't think. Willie, after the meeting, you come up and say, I don't know why nobody wants to go get a hamburger with me. Because you're effed up. What? You separated yourself from everybody in the room. Etiquette. Dress appropriately. Etiquette. Come in on time. Get you a little seat. Stop getting up. Y'all follow it? 15 times in a meeting. About the second time one of my guys gets up and goes outside, I'm going to follow him out. Guys, in Texas, meetings are an hour, for God's sakes. You can't sit for an hour. If you need to go pee-pee a lot, go sit by the door so you're not disturbing the whole group. AA etiquette. These old guys used to teach us that stuff. We don't do it anymore. The reason I feel so strongly about it is because the little guy that doesn't know that introduces himself as a drug addict in a meeting, and then some AA police comes and gets him very inappropriately, tells him, this is AA, you're not supposed to be in here. Oh, really? Mr. Sunbeam for Jesus, thank you. There's lots of ways to talk to somebody, guys, but we don't need to do the pushback. This could be the next president of AA, for God's sakes. Be nice. Good heavens. The guys that I'm working with, guys, this is not in the big book, but Bill Wilson refers to it. This health is so important. Exercise. There's just a lot of evidence to show, guys, if you're sitting on your butt nonstop, you're going to feel bad. It's not clinical depression. You're sitting on your butt 24/7. You got to move. We're physically, vitamins. We haven't been taking care of ourselves, alcohol, drugs, whatever. And all of a sudden, there's things out there that we can take that can help us feel better quicker. And I'm just really pro advocate to that. I know it's not in the big book, but it talks about, our bodies badly burned, and we just need to kind of get back out and get in a rotation with it. I just think it's go to the gym. It's not just about buffing up and looking good. It's you will feel better. Can y'all relate to that? You're sitting in your house and you feel like hell and everything's going bad and you wonder what's the use anyway. And then you get up and you go rake the front yard. And for some strange reason, you just feel 100% better. Yeah. You come rake my yard. I want my little guys to understand the history of Alcoholics Anonymous. I want you to see how cool it is to be a part of this thing. This legacy that's been given to us, one alcoholic carrying a message to another alcoholic, is so important. It's not even, you're a part of this. When you come in and pick up that desire chip, you're a part of something way bigger than you are. It's the best. I got to remember, guys, some of the things that we got to do. We don't chase these alcoholics. I'm there to give them an adequate presentation of the program. If they want to do it, great. If they don't, that's fine. I'll call them. I haven't heard from you in a while. I'm going to call you, check on you every once in a while, but I'm not going to bird dog you. If you want to do this, great. If you don't want to do it, that's fine too. It's just not this your mind kind of stuff. It's okay to fire a sponsor. I'm going to say it going in the door. If you got a sponsor and all of a sudden you're growing spiritually separate or you're not trusting that person, fire him. It looks like this, buddy, I'm going to find somebody else to work with. I sure appreciate all your help. Thank you very much. And they'll hug your little neck and pat you on the butt. And there you go. If they get mad, you've made the right decision. Because guys I'm sponsored are not my responsibility. They're not my property. They're God's property. And you can come and go as you please. I get people fire me all the time. I'm never home. I'm not there as much. I thought we'd have more FaceTime. I told you going in the door, I travel a lot. I'm not going to have a lot of FaceTime. Okay, well, I need to find somebody. Go. I got to say, the Dr. Bob archivally, and I've talked to some people that keep track of the stuff and have studied it. And Dr. Bob really he was a sponsoring fool. I thought it was just anecdotally, this 5,000, he sponsored 5,000 people in his 15 years of life. He sponsored over 5,000 guys. He didn't sponsor like we hear people today. We're going to meet twice a week and we're going to go to lunch and we're going to do, okay, that's being a good friend. If you want to do that, that's fine. That's the problem out there. We got a lot of people. We got a lot of women out there that know the best places to buy sheets, but they're unclear sometimes on how to finish a 4th step so these person can get free of all that crazy shit that's hanging over their head. So if you're picking a sponsor and you know that you're going to have to meet with him 3 nights a week to read the big book, nowhere in the book does it say that. You're making it harder than it has to be. Dr. Bob sponsored 5,000 people. You figure out how many a day that works out to be. I mean, this guy but he's not sponsoring the way we sponsor today. He didn't take them on to raise. He's there to get them through the work, pat them, and get them out there and get them excited about it, and then move on to the next one. Get them. I think you can only sponsor one at a time. Okay. Somebody else said it in here earlier. If you would sponsor more, I wouldn't have to sponsor so many. Okay. And there's an endless supply coming. I got to say this real quick. There was a period of time when every insurance company out there had a little treatment rider stuck on the end. The worst policies out there would pay for treatment. Then we got Obamacare, you follow, and everybody got the young people got the 26-year-olds on their family's insurance until it was great because we got a lot of those young people got to come into treatment and get sober. Well, they've messed with the system right now, and the insurance companies, their heads are spinning with all the stuff that's coming on in this country. And what they're all doing out there is they're all doing the pushback on mental health in treatment riders on their insurance policies. So a lot of people that could go to treatment, I mean, guys, back in the 80s when I got sober, it was nothing. We had people out there everywhere going to 30 treatments. I sponsored a guy one time that had 34 treatments. Damn. They named a wing after him. And I'm saying today, but what we're seeing is a lot of times we're spending a lot of our time trying to help people get back into treatment, and they're not able to come back to treatment because they've been once or twice. They can't come back. Where are they going to go? They're coming right here to us. That little Tuesday big book meeting over across town, they're coming right here. And we need to be ready to catch them. There's a quick quote. William James. Y'all familiar with William James? Y'all ever read his book? Varieties of the Religious Experience. Bill Wilson talks about it a couple of places in the book. Man, I got to tell you, if you ever get a chance to read it, read it. But God dang, it's a tough read. It's not one you're going to take to the swimming pool and just a little page turner, it's brutal. I mean, it's well written, but it's a tough read. But this guy's great, and he had some great quotes. Bill Wilson was a huge fan of him. Act as if what you do makes a difference. Why? Because it does. Stop telling yourself that you can't help anybody. Suit up and show up with a heart for service. Say, where can I be of service? Your life will never be the same. Now, I don't want you to miss it. I don't want you to listen to the people telling you that you can't help anybody. That's absolutely ridiculous. I don't know what you can do, but everybody in this room, do you realize the talent that we've got in this gathering right now? Because I know a bunch of you. We could run this country with the talent we've got in this room. Everybody wants to paint a picture that alcoholics and addicts, we're all just a bunch of misfits and crazy people and nutcases. The finest people I've ever known in my life are sitting in this room. The most talented people I've ever known are sitting in this room. We just need to stop beating ourselves up and start listening to all the people telling us that we can't accomplish, we can't do this, we can't do that. It's my huge soapbox. I'm going to get a chance to talk at Founders this coming year. And I got to tell you guys, one of the things I'm going to talk about is we got entirely too many people sitting in Alcoholics Anonymous telling us what we can't do. Drives me crazy. You can't do that. You can't do, no, you're not sober long. You can't do that. No job before the free. No, you can't date. You can't, just be quiet. You can do whatever the hell you want to do. Oh, you can't. We're powerless. We're powerless over people, places. No, we are not. You think you're powerless? Look at your amends list. You got power to hurt a lot of people. You got power to help a lot of people. It's not a dress rehearsal. This is it. We're supposed to get out there and kick some butt, folks. And it starts on a basis. I'll end with this. Chris was talking about the cornerstone. Remember the cornerstone, second step? Third step, the keystone of the arch. What's the foundation stone? Some of you said it. I missed this on a trivial conversation, on a trivia contest one time. Foundation stone of recovery is the 12th step. I've heard people from the podium, first step is the foundation stone. It's not. Working with others is the foundation stone. You wake up in the morning and ask God to help you, put you in line of somebody that you can help. I guarantee you'll have a better day. And oh, by the way, the obsession to drink will leave you and you'll never come back. Bless you. Thanks, guys.